What is your "we never speak of this again" story? When my best buddy and I were still in high school, we decided to go up an old mountain road and do some underage drinking in his car. We were up there for a while and all of a sudden we see headlights behind us. Fearing it was a cop, we hid the beer and my friend looks over to me and said, "Just follow my lead." Turns out it was a cop. We rolled down the windows and he asked what we were up to this late at night up in the mountains. I'm sitting in the passenger seat freaking out, hoping he can't smell any of the beer. My friend looks over at the cop and in the calmest voice says, "It's our 2-year anniversary tonight and we were trying to get away from everything. Full stop. Full stop." He then reaches over, picks up my hand and kisses the back of it. The cop looked at us for another few seconds and told us to have a nice and safe night. Just another couple of gay boys enjoying themselves up in the mountains at 1 AM. My now ex-wife wants tea in her hand while we were driving down the interstate because it was too far to the closest bathroom. Edit. First off, thanks so much for the upvotes. To answer some questions for y'all. She held it in her hand for a few miles until we made it to a gas station. I offered several times to pull over so she could at least do it on the side of the road. But she refused. To this day, anytime I hear somebody say handy shit, that's all I can think about. Okay. So I was dating this girl and she was at my place. I was 20 and she was 18. Blonde. About average weight and like me. A complete nerd. Anyway. We were having sex and I had no condoms, so I did the pull-out method. I didn't wait until I was on the edge. Just until I felt that tingle. I'd pull out and jack off into a cup. It was a Tim Hortons cup with some old coffee. Maybe like 1/4 still full. Anyway. Later that night. My parents surprised us with more coffee which we drank. I then placed the cup down and we watched TV. Well. I placed the new cup beside the CM cup. Still watching TV. I'd grabbed the CM cup and drank from it. I was mortified when the cold, old coffee touched my lips. She saw this and clued in what had happened. Then said it was good to know I swallow. So yeah. I drank my own CM spiked coffee. When I was around 12 years old. My family was on vacation somewhere. Sleeping arrangements. Me mom on one bed and brother dad on the other. Except my dad had this f***ing annoying habit of getting in bed and cuddling with mom in the morning. EWW. Anyways. One night. I had a very vivid dream. I dreamt that my period started and the blood was gushing. Like. Holy FCK. There was so much blood, you guys. And in the dream. I was running to the toilet to try to contain the blood. Plot twist. Piss dream got the best of me. I woke up a few minutes later soaked in piss. I'm pretty sure my mom and dad felt it too. And my pajamas stank like piss for the rest of our trip. No one said anything about it. P.S. I am so sorry for any hotel cleaning people who have to deal with this stuff every day. My college roommate and I were in Italy. And we were lost at a small town train station where there's no English and no one spoke English at all. The way the train station is set up is that we have to take stairs underground. And take stairs back up to cross the platform. We were trying to figure out which train to take. And ended up going back and forth since we barely understood any Italian. After a few trips going up and down. We decided to just cross back and forth across the tracks. This was way before smartphones. So we were in the middle of the tracks while I used a compass to figure out which direction Florence was. Then we realized it was noisier than usual. Looked up. And saw a train coming. In panic. We ran in front of the train to the platform across instead of backwards to safety. Realized we nearly won Darwin Awards. We agreed not to tell anyone about how dumb we were. A close friend and I had just gone through breakups and were drinking a lot that week out of depression. One night we end up cuddling to a movie. Things get intimate. Hot. Passionate. Messy sex ensues all over a suede couch. We awoke in the morning and without speaking. Grabbed cleaning supplies. Scrubbed the hell out of the couch. Then clothed ourselves and went to work. Since then we had a laugh about it, but we agreed never to bring it up again. We remain great friends. Growing up, we were poor. And as a teen I didn't really have access to porn or whatnot. But I was quite a writer. So I would write exotic fiction as a release in a spiral. Well, one day after writing a particularly sordid story, I kinda came to and realized I shouldn't leave that stuff around. I went to the kitchen, intending to throw the spiral away. Set it down. Got a drink. The phone rang. I answered. And left the spiral in the kitchen. Forgotten. An hour later my mother comes to me with the spiral and questions. I won't get into it, but she described how a lot of my stories wouldn't really ever happen and were a bit extreme. She threw it away and it never came back up. I was drinking vodka. And I had this guy pal that I was trying to bang. But he refused to bang a drunk girl while he was sober. I grabbed my phone and started looking for some action. No such luck. I eventually passed out and went to sleep. When I woke up the next morning, I read the texts I'd sent in absolute horror. Me. What are you doing? G. Getting ready for bed. You? Me. Drunk. Topless. And looking for some fun. G. Lol. Good luck. I'm going to bed. G happened to my boss who just started a few weeks ago. At the time Facebook would merge your friend's contact info into your address book. I never spoke of it again. And had a difficult time looking him in the eye. Roommate told me to text him when I got home so we could smoke a cigarette. I thought that's f***ing dumb. He'll be able to clearly hear me coming home. So I knocked on his bedroom door and waltzed in. Only to see him taking a DCK pic or masturbating. I'm still not sure which. He jolted up and said something along the lines of "whoa hey," and I just said "UHHI," and then we went outside and smoked a cigarette. Not so much we never spoke of it again. But I've never spoken of it. In college. Skipped the day to play some COD. Got bored and decided to take matters into my own hands. My dorm room was on top floor, 4th, and the window blinds were open. As I was furiously taking out my frustrations, a window washer came up to the window on a suspended scaffold. We locked eyes for a second and he left my window and washed and slowly went back down. So I am in high school and got trashed at a party. Somehow I made it home. In the middle of the night I drunkenly wander into my parents' bedroom. Sit on my dad's hamper and take a good long piss. My dad woke up in the middle of it and pushed me back into my room. I wake up in the morning and go to the living room and see dad. He starts cracking up and told me what happened. Said we won't tell anyone and to go upstairs and clean out his hamper. Ended up having to buy him a new hamper. My mom never said anything about it, so I have no idea if she knew. My dad passed away about 10 years ago. Since that time my mom told me a story about my dad getting drunk one night shortly after they were married, and she woke up in the middle of the night to see him peeing in his hamper. Apparently, I am totally my father's daughter. And have still never told anyone about it. So, we've actually spoken of this again. But never told certain people. My husband and I were living in a very rural part of China. It had been raining pretty hard for about 3 days and the streets were starting to flood a bit. We were walking home and he stepped on a sewer cover. He didn't realize it was floating and not secure. The cover flipped sideways and the whole right side of his body went into the sewer. So if anyone's ever been to China, you know some Chinese people aren't super big on helping during accidents, mostly for fear of being faulted. So several people just walked by as we both struggled to dislodge him from the sewer. He was pretty wedged in. As I'm trying to lift him out I can't get any footing and he can't keep his grip because everything is wet. I look down into the sewer and it is just filled with poo and sewage. It smells like holy hell and he vomits. All the while he's slowly losing his grip and the rest of his body is going into the sewer. My adrenaline kicks in and I turn into the Hulk and pull him while he pushes himself up. All I could think was if I let go he will drown in human, animal and God knows what else waste. It seemed like an eternity but it was probably 3 minutes tops. We ended up at the hospital that night because he gashed his leg open. After we got home we threw away his clothes and laughed for about 2 hours until we fell asleep. Anyway, We refused to tell his mom and family because they were already nervous about us moving so far away. One time my 3 good friends and I got really drunk off of Ross. Wine drunk. You know? And joked about making out all night until it actually happened. We were just sitting on the couch late at night having a 4-way makeout sesh. Turns out one of my housemate's close friends walked out of her room and saw us but said nothing until months later. I'm still friends with 3/4 and occasionally my housemate will bring it up and make us all cringe. A bunch of people know but just treat it as whatever. Weird experience. 5/10. Was at a theme park with my dad. We were on a road trip around the east coast to the US. We're British. I was 19. It was near Halloween and they had one of those horror mazes. Neither of us had gone in one before. Halfway through both of us are scared as hell. Literally holding on to each other, some guy jumps out at us and we both ran. As fast as we could. Screaming like little girls until we got the hell out of there. As we emerge into the daylight, we let go of each other. Exchange a "we will pretend that never happened" look. And carry on with our day. My time to shine. Okay, so I work in IT and I called out to people's residents on a daily basis. Long story short, I'm attempting to help a slightly older lady. Say early 60s. Attempt to connect to the internet. Okay, so I had found the issue. Modem was off, and was trying to establish that the internet was not in fact working when I brought up her recent IE browser. What I'm confronted with is approximately 11 windows of lesbian how to give great cunnilingus porn. Both she and I were staring at the monitor at that moment. It was awkward. I took her money and was ushered out of the place so fast it wasn't funny. So I had just exchanged numbers with a couple whom I would be house sitting for. So before the house sitting, at work, I get a text from the husband thinking, oh, he's setting up a time to go over my chores. Now it was him blowing a kiss at me. Shocked and a little confused. He sends another message, oh my god. That was meant for my wife. I'm so embarrassed, so I laugh it off and sent him a photo of me puffing my cheeks. To which I say, oh god. That was meant for my cat. I'm so sorry. Even? He said thank you. Followed by, and we shall never speak of this again. Once I went to a motel with my girlfriend. The problem with the shitty motels in my area is that there is no way to know if someone is there because the parking is a little far from the rooms. That includes the walk of shame to go in and out of the rooms. Adding into that shithole, none of the rooms have locks or windows so you can enter a room and find out it's currently occupied. Has happened a few times. Now, the weird part is that one time my girlfriend and I went into a room that was occupied. Before closing the door in shame, my girl notices that the dudes in there are her guy best friend and a black dude. No one knew the dude was gay and he's even married. We decided to note the FCK out of there and never mention any of that shit. Her friend called her to clear things up, but we just agreed to forget about it. Never been back at those shitty motels again. When I was around 12, I didn't have my own computer just yet, so I wasn't functional with one at all. I'd frequently hang out at my friend's house and use his parents' computer. For whatever reason, I decided to type in dix.com as a prank while my friend was next to me. Hit the enter button and closed the page really quick. Little did I have an understanding of a search history at the time. Luckily this wasn't showing in the most recents. My buddy advising his father visits dix.com did jumpstart my heart while I questioned if I should ever go over there again. My buddy promptly showed me how to delete a search history. Now that I think of it, I can't imagine how awkward it would have been to have to explain why you were looking at dicks. But dad, it wasn't me. I swear. I was in my age of furious and relentless masturbation, somewhere between 12 and 14. Don't remember exactly. I would lay on the bathroom floor in weird positions. A leg in the air or whatever. Because for some reason it felt better. One day I'm so f-king into it that I don't even hear the front door slamming. Suddenly the bathroom door opens and I'm looking at my stepdad and stepsister, who is 5 years younger. I could tell by the look on her face that she had no idea what she just saw. Stepdad went, oops. This one was taken. And calmly shut the door. It was never mentioned. And my goddamn god of a stepdad somehow managed to act so completely normal about it that I never really felt any shame about it. He is currently dying from cancer. And I'm gonna miss him like crazy. Awesome person through and through. My grandmother's uncle was in Auschwitz and was one of the very few prisoners who actually got released while the camp was still operating. My grandma says he just came home one evening, hiking all the way home with his release papers in hand, sat down, and said, "I will tell you everything I have seen inside the camp. But only this once. And we will never speak about this again." And he never did. As far as I know, he died few decades ago and took the horrors with him. When I was 14 or 15 I did some role playing with online friends through AIM. You know, you're a hormonal teenage girl and want to experiment by writing about your favorite anime and ship characters like there's no tomorrow. Well, one late night I was doing some very sexual writing posts and somehow accidentally printed a page. It was late. I didn't notice the printer even printing. I went to bed and my dad got up in the morning and handed me the printed page which his only daughter had written. It was quite detailed. He looked at me, shook his head and told me not to write these things with strangers. I was mortified and was a lot more careful from then on out. I still roleplay but my dad should know I'm a much better writer now, haha. But yeah, it was something quickly swept under the rug. The night starts out with a group of my friends out for some drinks. The bar closes but one of our friends got invited to a hotel room for a party of a friend he knew there, so we go and chill and drink some more for a bit. My other friend Joseph, who does not do hard alcohol much, was downing some shots in the hotel room. Definitely more than he could handle. As we're leaving and waiting for the elevator we all look to find Joseph peeing inside one of the ice machines near the elevator because he had to pee and we'd already left the hotel room. Of course his logic is to pee in the closest vessel that will hold his pee. Things would have been fine had someone not seen him do that, and he started yelling at Joseph and got in the elevator with all of us as we're trying to leave the hotel. He called security but it was so late in the night that no one was around. We all sprinted a few blocks away and escaped to a parking garage. The next morning we all agreed it would never be spoken of again. My 89-year grandmother walked in on my younger brother with his pants down and dead asleep. I think he forgot to put his pants back on after taking matters into his own hands. And swiftly and as suspenseful as can be backed out of his room on her walker. Walked up to me playing PS4 next door and asked, "Do you wanna see the funniest thing ever?" Curious me said yes. So we walked in on my brother and we both died from laughter till he woke up and saw his pants were down. He stared us right in the eye as we were walking out and said, "Never speak of this to anyone." My grandmother kept her promise and took it to her grave. R.I.P. Grandma. I, on the other hand, well, I'm on Reddit. One time I was visiting my grandparents. I have several cousins of all ages who were staying over. It's a big house. We were there for my aunt's birthday. And we were gonna surprise her. Obviously. Me being too little to understand, this was in 1995-ish, didn't really get to participate. So she is running late and everyone is wondering where my uncle that was bringing her was. So us kids were getting impatient, so we decided to sneak out the back door and go play in the tree house in the backyard. My brother started to climb up when we realized that grandma was getting her beef curtains munched on by a dog. My 4 guy friends and I were all hanging out one night drinking some beers and catching up at one of their houses. One of them asked if he invited this girl over. Would we all be down to gangbang her? Of course we were down because we were young and always in the mood to do it. He made us swear that we would do it when she got there and wouldn't back out. But the only catch was he wouldn't tell us who she was or show us a picture of her. Well, when she got to his house, we were all about to back out because she wasn't the most attractive girl in the world by no means, but a deal was a deal. So we all did the deed. And swore that we would never tell anyone or talk about it again. On New Year's Eve 2 years ago, I was 14. The adults had given me a bit of alcohol and I wasn't thinking straight. There was an empty bottle of ginger ale sitting in the table. And being the stupid 14-year-old I was, I decided it would be a good idea to piss in it. So I went to the bathroom and did the deed. I sealed the bottle with a fuck ton of tape and put a date on it. Then I hid it in my closet. And promptly forgot about it. 8 months later I found it. The piss had turned black and it smelled like death. That's not all though. The seal had broken and there was putrid black sludge stuck to the uppermost shelf of my closet. I tried to clean it up on my own but the smell was just too powerful. I kept gagging every time I tried. Eventually, my mom found out and helped me clean it up. We sprayed the shit out of it with every possible cleaning spray we could find in the house. Not a word to my dad or my brother. TL. DR. Drunk 14-year-old me pissed in a bottle on New Year's. Let it rot in my closet for 8 months and it made a mess. Mom and I nuked it with sprays until it went away. 4 friends and I went to a Cottonmouth Kings concert in DC. Not my choice. Free tickets. FCK it. We of course had 1-liter Coke bottles with mostly liquor. We got on in Shady Grove after pre-gaming in the parking lot. We drank and drank. Realized we missed our stop. We righted ourselves and figured out our way. We were wrong. But we didn't know that. We drank more. We finally realized. We fought on the platform while blaming each other. Then we fought on the platform. All of us. 4 grown men fighting each other viciously on a crowded metro platform. In the middle of our tussle I united our front by alerting the rest of us to the security quickly approaching. And we ran out as a group. Sobered up from the adrenaline we agreed never to speak of the event again and called our buddy's sister and made her come get us with a story of a fight at the 930 Club and told everyone the show was dope. It's never been spoken of since. Girlfriend and I were in a popular ice cream shop and they had French toast cake bites. I had to have one. We also ordered ice cream and cake. We share everything. So I bite the cake bites in half and she pops the rest in her mouth. I'm in heaven and make an audible MMMMM. She chews for a bit but the look on her face sours. She doesn't like it. Instinctively we lean in and press our lips together. She transfers the half-eaten cake into my mouth. And I happily eat it. We look at each other blankly for a bit. We know what we just did is not in any way socially acceptable. We enjoy a good laugh at our own expense and agree that we can never tell another soul how gross we are. Somewhat graphic. Long time ago in my party days. I was 19 at the time. My GF and I were rolling ecstasy at a friend's house. We were in my buddy's room and she was giving me a BJ. My friend's GF walked in and said she felt bad that our other friend was in the living and didn't have a girl. My girlfriend said I'd make out with him if SC Yamez 87 is okay with it. I was rolling so didn't care whatsoever. So my GF goes out to the living to make out with the buddy who had no one while my other buddy came into his room. After a few seconds went by. I went oh shit. My GF is about to make out with our buddy and she just gave me a BJ. Yeah. We never brought that up again past that night. Felt bad but shit happens. Thought I was being a nice friend. This has taken me back to a day I have pushed from my mind. Whilst walking in Wales with my grandfather and father on holiday the old macho fart competition came about. I was about 9 years old. The scarring is real as the day remain vivid and I can't remember what I did yesterday, and was mightily impressed at the expel gas from my extremely middle class and reserved family members. I felt something brewing and knew that this would be my opportunity to really take my place within the males of the family. I waited. As location seemed important to ensure correct resonance. I battled with stomach cramps and discomfort. But I could only grin at the pain. Knowing that I was about to make my stamp. The perfect cave came up. As we slid in sideways I committed everything. Literally everything. I shit so explosively that I instantly filled up my boots. Soiled my legs and a fairly noteworthy portion of my back. My grandfather looked at me and carried on. My father informed me I should clean up and continue. I washed my clothes and self in a nearby rock pool. Which I kept topped up with my own tears. I have never entered in such macho affairs since. Relapsed with drinking for about 2 months after having 42 days clean. Went to a bar my buddy works at. Blacked out. Did a bunch of coke in the bathroom. Hadn't slept in 40-ish hours. The story I got told was something about black people. Call the cops. And a fight. It took me 3 hours to get home. Got thrown out of the bar. Knocked on random people's doors for some reason. Told everyone to not talk about it again. But I kept drinking. 2 days later blacked out again. Fell off my bike. Slammed my jaw on the ground so hard I got a nice gash and was dripping blood. Probably should have gotten stitches. Left my food and ice cream I got sitting out. Ruining both. In my drunken state also brought it into the bedroom and put it on my bed. After those 2 incidents I decided to get sober again. Currently 11 days in. It's a struggle. But I'm doing good so far and I'm using the network of people I have to stay on the right path. But those 2 incidents? We don't talk about them anymore. On an ambulance. Crew of 2. Me and my partner are responding to a call in the mid of night. We get to the address and MR. Partner looks at me with the straightest of faces and says, "You are on your own, bro." I don't feel so great. Okay. I go up to the door. Talk to the patient. She is just fine, just needed some reassurance that she wasn't going to die from some mundane normal thing. This happens a lot, and I go back down to the rig. Partner man is sitting in the passenger seat and tells me I am fine now. Just had to get it all out, I guess, huh? Long story short. We had tacos for dinner and they had hit him in a bad way at 3 AM. He had to drop Tro in the back of an ambulance and tea in the trash can. Threw the whole damn thing in the dumpster of the apartment complex we were in. Damn near filled it, man. Had to go. We worked the rest of the shift and have never talked about it since. That was 8 years ago and yes, we still work for the same department. My story much more tame than many. Had tickets to a major college football game. On the backs of the tickets were coupons for discount hamburgers at a fast food place. Without looking at the front, my wife used the coupons before the game to take a friend to lunch. Later that evening, I ask her, "Where are the tickets for Saturday's game?" She realizes her mistake and bursts into tears. Fortunately, there's time for me to contact the university and straighten out the situation. She feels horrible. We never discussed it again. I traveled with a group of 3 people across the country for my former job. The majority of the time we stayed with people we know or a hotel or whatnot. One night our housing fell through and we stayed with a somewhat stranger in their house. The house was filled with oversized fish tanks and replica dragons. And many cats. The person offered us each lazy boys to sleep on amidst stacks of magazines and cat food. One of my teammates felt sick in the middle of the night but the toilet wouldn't flush. He panicked and he knew he had to poop again. In a moment of desperation he pooped in a cat litter box he found in the hallway and covered it up so no one noticed. He only told us what happened when we got about 3 hours away from the house. We all drove in silence. Mouths open. Then 1 minute later we all laughed, cried and vowed to not say anything about it again.